Okay, should be live. Let's actually make sure we're live because I haven't done this in a really long time. Let's make sure we can hear me. Live. Alright, heard myself for too long. Okay, well, hello everybody. No, let's actually try that one more time. Hey everybody. Wow, this is a this is a weirder start than I normally have to. Clearly, I've not done these live in I think yeah, the week SMT5 came out, I did that one live stream. Everything else has been pre-recorded, so that's a little bit of a weird one. But without further ado, how's it going, everybody? And welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network. This is a very special SMT5 community town hall discussion where you can go to the SMTN Discord, link below, or wherever the heck, if you're already in there. If you go to the town hall little voice chat area in the Vortex World channel, there's a little town hall thing. You click that, hit mute, and it'll bring everybody on. We'll talk about the game. Mostly spoiler free. We're not going to talk about story stuff, but obviously it's been out long enough. Like, if you have an opinion, positive or negative, on the story, people will probably talk about it, but we're not going to get into the nitty gritty. But before we do that, I had some lovely patrons who were not able to get on tonight, so basically, I'm going to read off for the lovely patrons. So if you're not aware, SMTN is primarily funded through patreon.com/SMTN, and with that you can donate $1 to get the show early and have different perks, like enter giveaways. I'm going to be picking a winner for our Steelbook, our Strikers Steelbook tomorrow. That's exclusive to patrons. And usually get the show early. On top of that, if you want to be extra cool, you can donate $5 a month to become an executive producer. And with that, you get your name listed at the end of... well, not listed. You get your name said at the end of every episode, unless I'm a big dingus, which does happen sometimes. And, yeah, if that ever happens, you can normally tell I was running really late on time there. But we've got a little bit of time here before we get started, so let's pull up one of the things from our patrons in no particular order. So, Kyle, Sarah says, we've got a couple of long things. So while we're waiting, once again, remember, if you want to jump in here, jump into the Town Hall channel. I'll bring you onto the show. We can talk about what you think of SMT5. You can just rant at me. It really doesn't matter. Kitty Misa, if you're an executive producer and I've somehow missed it, I would be greatly, greatly sad that I've missed it all of these years. So I hope that is not true. So, first up from Kyle, this is what Kyle says, and specific instructions for this one. What's the deal with the dungeons? How do you feel about... Oh, well, I guess it stops just after just that. How do you feel about the tower dungeon and fan puzzle and the throwback dungeon at the end? Do you feel like it helps or hurts the experience? Personally, I hated the fan dungeon and thought it kind of ruined the pacing of the game for me. I would have enjoyed a more explorable dungeon that took the outer world elements into its own stage. It felt kind of forced. Then the last dungeon was just unfinished. It felt like it had nothing to do with anything. The enemies were strange and only were a few there. I spent more time baiting the mobs so I could run through them than actually enjoying or exploring anything. The time stop thing was cool for the first time, but overall felt detached from the overall experience. So kind of a quick one to talk about. I'm in a weird camp with the dungeons where I think the overworld was handled so well that I never felt myself missing a traditional dungeon because there's so few. Now, that being said, it's tough. Like, the thing about that, though, is, like, I can understand missing it, but at least for me, I kind of just felt like, yeah, the dungeons are nice, but at the same time, I would, like, if it was no dungeons, I still would have really, really enjoyed this game. I will say, yeah, the dungeons are probably the weakest gameplay aspect of it for everything that's there. I didn't hate the wind puzzle as much as everybody. I need to go and check out the changes they made to it. Pretty much I've heard it's just easier with a new patch that they just released with it. I kind of wish it was optional. Obviously, you don't have to download a patch, but I always kind of appreciate, like, different puzzle difficulty designs, but this game really has, like, no puzzles at all. So, I can see the dungeons being disappointing for sure. I think this definitely suffers from a situation like Breath of the Wild, where the world is so great, the shrines are so great, but the overall dungeons suffer because so much time and energy was put into making that overworld feel alive and really well crafted that something had to give, and unfortunately it looks like what gave out was the unfortunately what gave out was the dungeons and puzzles pretty much being non-existent. So let me pull up here what else we have. Also, thanks everyone for watching live. I know this one was kind of late and is on a random Tuesday in the afternoon, but I'm trying to finish these up before I have other things to do today, but I am excited to talk to you all. One other question was, does hard mode count on New Game Plus since you have already such an advantage? I would say in that situation, yeah, but only if you want to play hard, because there's two versions of hard mode. You can bring everything over in hard mode, or you can just bring over, I think it's like your compendium, or yeah, it's like one's like your compendium and your level, and another one is like your, yeah, it's basically, do you want New Game Plus to be really easy, or like kinda easy? That's basically it. Maybe too much of a spoilery question, but I'm wondering if people were satisfied with the ending. I felt that it was really engaging up until the final text parts, and all the endings were kind of like, okay, nothing really mattered. I know it was intentional, but I'm kind of bummed. Kind of a bummer leading up to it. I really want to talk to like one-on-one talk with some people about the ending when we get later into it, and like it's so hard to talk about the story stuff without actually spoiling it. That's the tough part. But I definitely seem to be in the minority here who really like the story through and through. It seems beaten to death by others, but wondering if everyone is on the same page with character exploration. I wanted a bit more and felt like I couldn't get in touch with a lot of the character goals in the end. I still feel like there was a lot of unanswered questions like relationships with Yakumo and Nua. We never really see the light of day, and it's sad. So, like, I have answers for it of, like, it is there. There are other things, but it's complicated. Like, I think every character has a story fully explained and committed. I just think a lot of it you have to search out for, or might just be text only. And that's definitely going to, like, it's not even. You're not getting an even amount of story with someone like an Ichiro or an Atsuda. But then characters like the Prime Minister have a lot more examples, even though they're not as much screen time for them. So it's very uneven. I'll definitely give you that. The story is definitely uneven there. Persona 5's endings are. I'll at least I'll say this for a couple other things. Well, number one, I definitely like every bit of the endings a million times more than P5, like normal P5, not kind of like royal, but that's like super low hanging fruit for me. Hello Kyrian, hello Alex, hello TPM, and hi Misa again. Ring me up, Misa. I will definitely ring you up. Although you might be one of the rare people in here who I'm gonna bring in who may not even actually. I don't know if you have the game yet, but I'm very excited to hear what you think spoiler free is, so I will probably hear you. So the last thing was, otherwise, let's see. Otherwise, these are just gripes and points of contention. I really do love the game. I am glad that like the overall take from everybody has just been, I do love the game. It's like I've not heard anyone who's just like, I hate it. This game is the worst. Like it's just been like there are points that they might feel are a little sloppier, but at the end of the day, people really do love this game. So that's our first patron of the day. I would love to talk some stories. So let's get Misa in here, our first guest. Remember, if you want to get in on the Town Hall talk, just go to the SMTN Discord, link below, wait in the Town Hall, and I'll bring you in. So first guest of the day, Misa Kitty, that hopefully everyone can hear. Very loud Discord call. Hello, Misa Kitty.
Hello, everyone.
So I've been meaning to ask you this. What happened? Like, were you okay? I noticed something on Twitter yesterday. I was like, I'm getting an insane amount of cat videos on my feed, and I'm not complaining, but I noticed they were all from you, and I was like, are you in a cat mood? Did like a cat like appear in your life? Were you hacked by a cat? Like, what happened to your feed yesterday?
Well, I was just, thinking about the game, and I was thinking about, oh, this game, SMT5 could have been better, and then I just got really sad, and I'm just like, just look at cat picture. But hey, at least you enjoy it, right?
Exactly. I mean, geez, I that might be the first of anyone being like, I was so disappointed with SMT5, I had to look up cat pictures to feel better. I'm like, wow, that's a really specific take.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that's why I had the cat pictures. But hey, um, thanks for inviting me in. We have a
Yeah.
lot to talk about.
Well, and that's the weird thing is, especially because I know you, at least through kind of picking things up hearsay wise, um, has been like you've experienced the story. I'm assuming like did you watch people play it? Like did you just like out of context like spoilers? Like how did you kind of digest it?
Okay. Well, to be honest, I haven't got the game yet, but
We're waiting for Atlas
I've
to send you
spoiled
one any day
myself.
now.
Yeah. But okay, but I spoiled myself to death. I watch all the walkthrough, playthrough, and I talk to my friends about it. And yeah, and I love SMT5. I wanted to give it like a 10 out of 10, but I can't because okay, I'm a lore person, okay? So when I found out that the story is like this, I can't. I just gonna give it like 8 out of 10. I mean, to new person, like new people who play SMT for the first time, they maybe think, oh yeah, okay, yeah, the story's kind of okay. But to the people who have played SMT for a long time, I don't think uh, they're gonna like the story. That's yeah.
See, I'm wondering what that is about it because just something for me, I really liked all of the endings, even though yeah, they definitely leave some to be desired. But like I've had that feeling with like every SMT game. I can't think of a single SMT game I've played where I was like, oh. They nailed it. There's nothing else I had left for questions or anything like that. I think, though, I'm definitely guilty of being a little biased because all of the characters I really liked had way more story focus than everyone else. So, like, I liked Koshimizu. Koshimizu has a full storyline. I like Ichiro. Ichiro has way
Mm-hmm.
more story than, like, any of the other
Yes.
students and stuff. And, like, out of, like even with an example of I thought was like funny with Miyazu, people I see posting all the time of like what happened to her, what happened to her, and it's like if you don't do that one side quest line, that character just totally falls off the face of the earth. But she has an ending, you just have to experience it through an optional side quest.
Exactly. Actually, okay. Here's the thing about okay, my thoughts, my opinions on SMT5. I mean, you guys can, cancel me after this, but this is my opinion. I just think that, I mean, the characters has a lot of potential. I love them all. It's just that it felt like they were robbed. It's like they could have done more, but it's just not complete, especially with Koshimizu. I'm not going to spoil anything. Like, he has a why he does all this and that, but they just didn't explain. It just felt like flat. Like there's no way he created Aogami just to fight demons. There's no way he
What
had a whole reasoning for
without
that. But
again like
they
without
just
getting into
didn't
spoilers,
explore it.
was there a character you felt got the most robbed? Now it doesn't have to be in terms of screen time, but just in terms of like character like having a satisfying ending because like for me the biggest one that seems so weird is like at the end of the game, like the very end, unless you pick one specific ending, Aogami never talks
Mm-hmm.
again, and it's really weird. Like you just never talk to Aogami about anything.
Exactly. I think it's not just okay. I think the character who got robbed the most is Aogami, Tao, and Yakumo or User. Actually, everyone got robbed. I can't pick one, but yeah, everyone got
I wouldn't say everyone.
robbed.
I think characters had different like examples. So like Yakumo is an interesting one of you don't learn about his story in the game through any cutscene. You learn about him through talking to people actually in Tokyo, and you can kind of put the pieces together about it. Actually, no, Nua does have a cutscene where she does talk about his past, but you
Yes,
infer a lot.
yes,
Like he has a
yes,
very
yes,
tragic
yes,
backstory that
yes.
you learn, and it's like it's nice that, but it is one of those things of like they clearly had to like cut like if this was one of those things of everyone had a dedicated section or anything like that. Like I think if anything, it kind of just goes to you're going to get as much backstory about all these characters pretty much no matter what ending you pick. It's just going to pretty much be
Mm-hmm.
who stays alive long enough, because it's just going to be one of those things of like, okay, who do you want to try and side with doesn't necessarily mean who you're going
Mm-hmm.
to get the most exposition for. Like I remember when I picked siding with Koshimizu at the end, and I was like, man, I can't wait to see what I can't wait to see what this ultimate super form for him is going to look like. And then I get it for the other character instead, and I'm like, oh, I'm moving, which is good because like it's playing with your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things of like if you're not going to experience everything, like if you just play through this game, didn't do all the side quests and just did one ending, it'd be like, what the hell happened to this story? Whereas, like, if you do all of it, it feels a lot more satisfying, but that not everyone's gonna do
Mm-hmm.
that.
Exactly. See, like you mentioned that Yakumo has a lot of backstory. Yes, he does. It's just that you have to explore and read it, like talk to the NPC and all. And some people just don't read. They just don't like reading text. They want, like full blown out explanation on like cutscenes or whatever. Some people don't like reading text. Like you get what I mean. Like they don't want to do exploration. Some people don't talk to the NPC, so some people do miss out a lot of backstory, especially like when you talk about Miyazu. Like I don't think she's a key character. Like okay, yeah, she did have a side quest, but nothing too prominent that changes the entire as the whole story. You get what I mean? Like
No,
man, why are you
and I
here?
think her ending as well as the character she's explicitly tied to, I think there's two major
Mm-hmm.
faults. Number one, her brother has nothing to do with it, which makes no sense. There's a
Exactly.
big point in her story that's a big secret, and then her brother apparently never mentions it or cares about it ever again, and that all of it is text only. I think if it was voiced, it would have hit a lot harder, and for whatever reason, that one, maybe just because it was a side quest, they didn't view it as needing to be totally voiced, which seems really weird because it's the longest side quest in the whole game just for this one character.
Exactly. Okay, you see, my first opinion, like my first thought when I saw SMT trailer before the game comes out, SMT has always known to be really dark, like oh maybe they're gonna kill her off and that's what's gonna push Yuzuru to be, go to the chaos route or something. But they didn't do any of that. I'm like, why the hell is Miyazu? I it was kind of disappointing. I thought they're gonna kill Miyazu off, so like there's more impact to the story, but no, like they made Yuzuru look worthless. Like they made Yuzuru look like someone who just follow whatever Koshimizu said. Like it's just nah. Like I can't. They made. I love Ichiro because he's really precious, but near the end when he became Virgil, I just like, well, that's kind of fast. No.
I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on his, but yeah, his is unfortunately a little more spoilery without getting into the memes of it. But no, that is so true. But I will say, I think it's definitely like I get the complaints. I would never say someone being like, I wish there was more of this, and be like, I don't agree. I at least think of this, comparing it especially to something with as much voice acted story as this. I think comparing it to Nocturne, if
Mm-hmm.
someone is like Nocturne has a better story than this, I'd be like hard disagree. Just because Nocturne might have more of a different in terms of like endings or stuff like that. But if your
Mm-hmm.
complaint, like maybe if your complaint was the overall story you liked more in Nocturne, I would understand that. If you think the characters had better fleshed out stories in Nocturne, I would say you're high. I would like, dude, there's no ever explanation for any of the characters in Nocturne, whereas at least this one gave us context leading up to the ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because like there's so many
Mm-hmm.
moments in Nocturne that's like, where the fuck did he go? How the fuck is she still alive? And how did we get here at the end? Like it all just feels like so nonsensical. And I like what their story goes, but with the characters, at least in five, it gave me. I think because I liked the context it always had for the cast, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
forgave the overall missed potential because I at least liked what we got, and what we got, at least the ending made sense, whereas it wasn't like I beat the game and was like, what the hell was that?
Exactly. To me, SMT5 is like a copy paste of Doctor. I mean, I think if you ask me to pick between Nocturne or SMT5, I think SMT5 had me engaged a little until the middle part, and then it just kind of fell flat. Um, how should I say this? Mm, I don't know. I'm still kind of baffled that like when you reach like the ending of the game, you play every ending, and then you're just like, now what? That kind of feeling. I get that kind of feeling like, oh, I bit this, I got this ending, and now what? It's just like that. That kind of feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because what's weird is I actually got that moment way sooner than everyone else because of reviewing it. And so what kind of
Mm-hmm.
sucked is I got to that moment of after I got all of the endings and was like, I've done everything I can do in this game in terms of new stuff. And then it was kind
Mm-hmm.
of like, wow, this is a really weird moment because like for me it was satisfying, but I then kind of was like, I wish I had an excuse to keep playing this, but also my backlog of stuff this year that I needed to get to was screaming, so I was also kind of glad to be done. But yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
is one of those things of I think this game way more than even something like a Persona 5, I'm really interested to see what people think the farther away we get from release. I wonder if this is going to be something that people look upon more fondly, or like if their opinions are going to change, or even like myself included. Like I'm wondering how this game's going to age the farther away we
Mm-hmm.
get from it. Like so for you right now with your general group of like friends and stuff or people you see online, what would you say the general
Mm-hmm.
opinion of like your friend group is for this game?
Well, okay, I did post some my thoughts on Twitter, and yes, some people agree with what I said about the story is lacking, and some do agree that, oh, the story is actually fine. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine for the newcomers, but for, like I said, for someone who played SMT long enough, we're kind of unsatisfied with the story. Like, could have done better, but yeah, me and my other friend, the other artist friend, like we were talking about okay, I don't want to spoil anything. Like we were talking about the lore. Like they at least did a great job of hiding some of the lore. Like I'm not gonna say what it is, but yeah, they actually did a lot, like hide a lot of lore. If you can find it, then yay, good for you. But if you can't find it, then yeah, like, but I'm just gonna say SNT5 is Persona without the heart. The irony.
Oh dang! After all the memes, it ended up becoming true.
I mean, I won't say the game is bad. The game is good. I love the gameplay. I love the OST. I loved all the side quests, the demon interactions, and everything. The new system. It's all great. It's just that the story could have done better. But okay, I'll just this is what I get. You know, I can't
I'll
complain
say
because
I think it's also important to you brought up a good point of like it is important that like story is only so much of the game. A lot of it is saved by how fun it is to actually play for me, because like it was just always so fun just to like there was never a moment when playing it I was like, I'm bored of this. Like, it had a really good loop. It always made me want to keep coming back and playing it. Like, so for story criticisms aside, I think a lot of it is held up by how addicting and how good they made it feel, at least.
yeah. So it's like um okay, for me, like if I finished everything, like all the endings, I wouldn't play this game anymore because I'm done with this game unless I want to try something like something stupid, which is like, speed run without boss and everything. Yeah, I'll play it again. But for me personally, I don't think I'll play it again unless they drop some kind of new story DLC or something or
Are,
side quest DLC.
do you normally play RPGs that way? Like, I know everybody's kind of different, but like for me, it's very rare. Even though like I try and always like get all the achievements or trophies for things if it's a game I really like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm done with the game, I'm pretty much done with it. Like, it's fun to go back maybe a little bit after, but at least, like, for you, is there a situation of a game where you beat it, you did a lot, and then you were like, I still gotta go back. I gotta play it again. I gotta play it again.
You see, I do that with Dark Souls or Bloodborne because that game is not boring no matter how many times I play it because it's fun. But as for SMT5, I don't see myself playing it again because unless I want to do stupid things, yeah. But yeah, I don't think I'll play it again unless they drop something new, which I don't really know if they're gonna do that. Atlas, please drop some
I'll
DLC.
always have to ask you this before I try switching over to anyone else. What is for you? What do you think is like the best SMT game?
SMT, the best SMT.
For you,
Strange
though.
Journey.
Very
Strange
specific.
Journey. Oh wait, specific? Okay, Raido Kuzunoha.
Okay, well, hold on, one or two.
Raido Kuzunoha, Strange Journey, Digital Devil Saga.
Well,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I gotta make you pick one or two though for Raito.
Wait, what? What? That's not fair.
Yeah,
Like,
we're talking about the best one. You can't be the best two.
Okay, fine. Okay, Raido Kuzunoha versus the second game. I forgot what's it called again. Yeah, but yeah, the second game because
I always forget the subtitles. I like the amount of times I've ever been like, oh yeah, Raito Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army, or Raizo Kuzunoha, and the like. I don't think I have ever once been like, because I'm not confident enough in my memory. I remember both games,
yeah.
but I've never been like, oh, this one's like. I will never forget when I saw the title for 2. I was like, that might be the longest title of a game I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, see, but yeah, Raido 2, because they fixed a lot of stuff that was problematic in Raido 1. But yeah, I think Raido is my favorite because the story is kind of engaging, and there's a lot of things to do as well. So yeah,
All
Raido
right.
Kuzunoha.
Well, Misa, I appreciate you for coming on and helping break the ice and keep all the viewers entertained. So if you want to tell everyone where they can find you and throw their follows at you or money.
Oh no. You can find me on Twitter. A meow art. Like I do arts SMT sometimes. So yeah, check me out.
Well, thank you, and continue on living. You know what? I do need to ask you this because you did spoil it, and we haven't said this publicly yet. Did
Yes.
Koshimizu live up to your love and affection in the game?
Yes, he does. I still think that he was kind of robbed, but yes, I love him with all my heart. And I'm really thankful that Mr. Sean Kristen plays along with my stupid jokes about Koshimizu.
That's
Yeah,
that's the
I love
real
him a
joke,
lot.
Misa. They're not actually jokes. They're all serious. They're all honest.
I was so embarrassed when he replied, but yeah. Koshimizu, great character. You'll love him. Yeah, to check him out.
All right, have a good one.
All right, see ya.
See ya. All right, so I am going to now go into the town hall, and if you would like to join the town hall, make sure to have yourself muted. I'm going to read one more patron thing. I'm going to try and do town hall person, patron, town hall person until we're out. So, my first one is by Blinky. Blinky says, still haven't gotten an ending as of the time of this recording. Recently worked on the absences in the 4th area. Jeez, that 4th area is so big. Still working on how to figure out how to do the level 99 abscess and with a level 65 party. I will say it is possible, but it is very hard. But the game is solid. Story is Genostism? Oh my gosh. Genostism on crack, and while it's bare bones, I still enjoy what it's doing. Fusion, combat, exploration, atmosphere are all 10 out of 10. The castle dungeon at the end of the third section was spectacular, and I'm very much looking forward to finishing my first ending and going through to a second and third playthrough. Absolutely my game of the year. It feels familiar enough to be grounded with enough new things, essence, exploration, and verticality, Magatsuhi stuff, to keep it fresh. I don't know if it will stay with me the way Nocturne has, but it's definitely made a great first impression. Alright, so our next person we're going to bring on, you don't have to, but you do have to unmute yourself. So how's it going today, man?
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. Hello, how's it going?
Boy, thank God that guy doesn't do game reviews. That would be a bad episode for SMT5, I feel.
Hey, Disney December is soon, and he's playing Kingdom Hearts. Anything's possible.
Oh man, I forget that Nostalgia Critic is like still an ongoing thing, like very constantly.
A part of me is kind of happy he is, but at the same time, not the greatest.
It's kind of funny because I also then think of like the fact that, like, oh yeah, what is it? I often find myself being like him and AVGN are like the polar opposites of like no one looks at AVGN still existing and like it's like, oh, I wish AVGN would end, but then like it's the complete opposite reception for nostalgia. Like I've never met someone who's like, God, I love AVGN, man, it's so good.
God, well, I mean, I've seen a lot of people go, God, I hate Nostalgia Critic. God, seen that,
but yeah, so. I have to say, I forgot if you had posted it here or on Twitter. What was the last thing you drew again? Because I saw it recently pop up, and I'd been meaning to say good job on your latest drawing, but I totally flubbed and forgot to.
It was a Jet the Hawk from Sonic.
Yes, that was why.
Yeah, I was bored, and I felt like I needed to draw a Sonic thing, so yeah, I drew Hawk. I think before that it was the SMT5. It was Nahobino, and I like that one still. So, because usually I'm one of those artists who are like, "Oh no, it's bad." Like 2 minutes after I finished it, oh, man.
And that's why you pay for Twitter Blue, so you can undo those art mistakes.
Hell yeah.
So. SMT5, it's here. I am dying to know first off, how far are you in it, at least hours-wise, or have you beaten it, and what do you think of the game?
So I did 30 hours, and I did like the neutral path, so I finished one route. I didn't do any others.
You beat the game in 30 hours?
It's what we call having no life.
Wow.
Yep.
Did you just skip all the side quests? I can't even imagine beating it in 30 hours. That's actually insane.
I only did a couple of the side quests. I kind of like skipped. I didn't do it.
That's I mean, you can beat this game quickly, yeah. If you're like marathon, that's so funny. So like,
it was great because I had like a break, like so I didn't have like any like school. So I was like, well, nothing else to do.
that is so interesting. So yeah, please allow me to shut up. So you did neutral. So what were your general thoughts after beating the game?
So the whole time, I'm one of those people, because, like, as a wee little lad, I would always like exploring games, kind of like, gotta look through all the cracks and, you know, all the, what's under here, but there's usually, like, kind of nothing, and that's kind of, like, a habit that I kind of stopped doing after a while, like, oh, there's probably nothing over there. But this is the kind of the game that kind of, like, brought me back, like, oh, what's over there? I haven't felt kind of like this way since, like, Breath of the Wild, and, like, exploring stuff, and I really liked it. It was really good.
So you'd mentioned you got neutral without kind of divulging into spoilers for it. I have a weird question that I want to talk. Did you expect the people Did you expect who was the neutral route? Because when I realized who neutral was, I was like, I did not think of you guys as neutral, but I guess it makes sense compared to everyone else.
I thought they were going to be the chaos route.
You know what, honestly, if you told me all three of the routes was chaos, I would believe you. Like, they all have their own kind of law-neutral chaos tendencies for all three of them.
That is true. But, since people were talking about story earlier, I liked it generally, like, typically. I kind of feel like that and Nocturne are kind of on, like, the same kind of plane, kind of same league in terms of story. They're kind of simple, but like that's kind of why I like it about it.
So, so for you, were you thinking of going with neutral? Because like for me, when I was presented with the choice at the end, because the game really doesn't ever make you like the game's never doing like, okay, here's what you said about this, so let's make sure you get this ending. It's pretty much, hey, pick whatever ending you want at the end. Like, had you planned on going through with that? Was it like your thought in like the whole playthrough, or like what kind of led you to picking neutral if it was at the end or through the whole point?
So there was no like I don't think that because I wasn't like following a guide or anything. I was just kind of going in like full, just like kind of going all in, and there was like every part where Algami goes like, "Young man, do you think you did this correctly?" Or like, "Do you think this was the right thing to do?" I always thought like, "Oh no, this is gonna
Man,
determine something."
I gotta say, I wish there was like way more of those, because at least for me, I felt like he stopped doing that after like the third area. I really liked when he would like do check-ins with you of just like, hey, what do you think of this? And then he'd say his piece, but then he'd be like, well, whatever you think, that like that's what we're gonna do. And I always really appreciated that. Like I was so bummed that like he doesn't have that talk with you after you make up your mind at the very end of the game. I'm like, I would have loved to have known what he thought on all of those endings, and it was so weird that he's just so silent on all of them.
Yeah, that was like really weird because you'd think by the end he would have to be like, "Young man, I don't know if you made the right choice, but good on you."
Especially yeah, especially because some of the endings are like, hey, these literally affect me.
Yeah, these two affect you. So like you'd think that would like affect like do something, but because like like how Nocturne when you like whenever characters ask you something like, "What do you think about the situation?" It does actually kind of like affect things that happen. I feel like in 5 it wasn't like that as much because again he wasn't really asking you anything.
So with your party, since you were playing it like so quickly and stuff with it, were you changing up your demons a lot, or were you just pretty much buffing them all the time?
And there was some demons I kind of kept around, and then a lot of them, into the fuser they go into the world of shadows.
The Sophia blender.
Yeah, it very good protein shake. Would recommend.
I gotta say, man, that is. You might be the quickest person I've heard on their first playthrough beat this game. That's really fun. Because I've been telling people, for a first playthrough, I think I could see 50 to 60 hours as like a normal average. So I think that's like so funny of like... So now, especially with your other playthroughs, are you going to try and kind of keep that same pace? Or are your second or third playthrough, are you thinking, okay, let's do all the side quests on New Game Plus? Like, what were you thinking?
I'm probably going to do a side quest because... my inner Zelda nut always like says, okay, first time I play, we're kind of like avoiding side quests, but second time we're going all in. That's kind of like how I do those kind of games. So like I kind of like jart through the main story, and then next time I play, it's time to, let's learn a little more about these funny fellows.
Did you get to mess around with the super boss at all?
I did not know.
So the super boss I think is actually pretty fun. Of like, I like that it's level gated, but it's always there as soon as you discover it. Like, so when you discover it, you don't know that it's a super boss. It's just there's this giant portal in the final area that's like, hey, you're too weak. It never says when you're strong enough. So you just have to constantly keep checking, and it's like until you get to level 80, you're like, what the fuck is this portal for? Like, I had bought the DLC and was like, is this for DLC? Is it just
At first I
locked?
thought it was the Demi-Fiend fight. At first I thought it was for the Demi-Fiend fight, but...
I'm glad it's not. That would have been really stupid if it's just Demi-Fiend's just there and he's like literally gated until you buy him, but thankfully that's not the case.
Yeah, I'm glad. So this year I didn't really play a lot of new games. This was really the only new game because all the other new purchases I got bought this year were like Nocturne HD, Skyward Sword HD, Sonic Colors.
All the HDs.
Yeah, and then like, I mean, nothing against those games except for Sonic Colors, but it's finally glad to have like a nice new one.
Now I have to ask then. So how much internet bullying will it take for you to buy Strikers? That's the real $1 million question.
Oh, I bought that day one, so they can't stop me now.
But you haven't played it yet.
No, I played it. So Okay, when I meant new game, I mean like a game that like it was an online day
you're
one.
you're a purist. You're like that's a 2020 game. I know your shenanigans, Atlas. I won't consider you 2021.
I mean, I played it 2021. I bought it 2021. I played it 2021. But
I
2020.
wonder if there's people out there, because I actually have thought about this recently of like what if someone liked Strikers, and they're so different, but it would be funny if, like, I wonder if there's someone out there who's like the best SMT experience this year was Strikers over 5. They're so different that like I love them and I wouldn't compare them, but it's like for me, I at least like hands down, even though one's way cheaper than the other, I would be like, please play 5 before Nocturne. I think 5 is overall way better of an experience. You'll appreciate 5 more and even learn stuff about Nocturne, like, no matter what order you play them in. But I think if you're being like, hey, what's a great RPG to recommend, I would definitely recommend, like, it lived up to, like, the hype that it kind of needed for me. But, like, it is funny of, like, so basically to kind of peek behind the curtain, probably the first or second week of December, I'm going to bring back. SMTN used to do these community awards where I would make a Google form sheet and we would do it on our Facebook group. But I'm going to spread it across Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Discord, everything. And it's going to be pretty much like everything Atlas and Sega related for awards, but all of the community votes on it. Because it's like, I'm really curious what the overall consensus is going to be, and then another reason why I kind of want to wait till December started, of like give everyone kind of time to vote on everything and like let everything digest, and also give like dumb awards, for like whether it be like joke awards of like best like meme potential or something, or even like other ones of like who else is going to have a best voice actor in Strikers or 5 or Nocturne. Although God, Nocturne would be a pretty, at least for me, that'd be a really easy one to vote for. But like other little dumb things like that. So like I'm excited to kind of do that and have a fun like end of the year award for it. But yeah, I am curious just because of how, for at least for me, I don't know how you feel. I feel like and especially since it actually came out last year, I feel like I played P5S literally like 5 years ago. It feels like an eternity from February of this year to November of this year.
I'm really okay. I felt like that too because I got it like day one. It came out. Well, technically day two because they screwed up my order for it. But
Thanks, Best Buy.
it wasn't Best Buy. It was GameStop this time. Thanks, buddies.
You wanted that pin, that's why.
I have 2 of them actually now. Because I went in the first like day one and they said, "Sorry, we don't have the game, but we can give you the pin."
I gotta say,
like,
I keep thinking I'm out of those pins. I did a giveaway I think a month or two ago where it's like, this is my last one, and then I found more. I'm like, what the fuck? I got so many of these, I don't even remember getting them all.
No, but like I gotta feel that way because I played Strikers like day 2, I guess it came out, and then we're here and I played like a lot of stuff since then. I played like 2 Shantae games. I played Gravity Rush and I played the Angry Video Game Nerd games. They say that kind of rolls back in.
It all comes full circle. We've made the nostalgia critic loop, as they say.
See, we're like the Boomerang the channel. It's all coming back to you. See, it's all coming back.
Oh,
But so it did really feel like it was like all kind of like circling back from Strikers to 5. So like I feel like, man, and I only played Strikers like once, so I kind of did a one and done on that, and I'll probably go back to it eventually. But it did really feel like a long time ago for that.
No, yeah, for me, it's definitely been like with Strikers, I was like, with 5, I was like, get all the endings, get everything. But then the funny thing is, with Strikers, I don't know if it's just because it was my second time playing it. I mean, there was a lot of games when it came out as well. But like for me, after Strikers released, I'm like, I'm gonna platinum this, but I know I don't want to do it right away. I want to space it apart.
That's what I'm doing with 5 right now, because like I've got the neutral ending, and I kind of want to forget a little bit about like the map layouts and stuff. So like I'll give it a little bit, so I can kind of like, so when I get back into it, I'm like, oh, new. It feels new again. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And I mean, like unless you're doing something like a review or like where you want to just kind of worry about not having anything spoiled for you, it is nice to space things out as much as possible like that,
Yeah, like I did like this like thread on Twitter where it was like I talked about every game I played this year, and that was one of the only times in that little thread for SMT5 where I had like a little too much to say, but I didn't have enough to say because Twitter's space. Like you can only have this many characters.
Well,
but it was.
Oh no, I was gonna say thanks for coming on and waiting, man. I appreciate you popping in here, and I'm glad you enjoyed the game.
Yeah, I had a great time with it. Game of the year, but I don't know if that's really saying a lot from me because most of the games I played this year were like from not this year.
Yeah, suck at Sonic Colors. You lost because of SMT5. You were this close.
Oh, yeah, Sonic Colors was just so close. I mean, it's right there. But I think Sonic tripped on a rock, so like he fell face first.
But it's okay. It's okay because real Sonic fans know the best Sonic game this year was Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz HD. No, Banana Mania. Jesus, they'll bleed together.
Hey, Monkey Ball lets you play as Tails. Sonic Colors didn't.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got cucked by Tails, but no, man, dang, I gotta get back to Monkey Ball. Speaking of pain,
I haven't played it yet. I've not played it yet. I didn't buy it. I mean, I'm going to eventually.
It's I think still $20, like physically and digitally. And if you like physical stuff, the art book it comes with is a really nice art book.
I might get it like because my local Walmart has all the games. Even like the new release is like $20 less. So I could like go up to the store now, get Metroid Dread for like $40.
Man, those Walmart deals are very, very clutch. I appreciate
really
you coming in, man. Have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you have a good one. Take care.
All right, so before we do patron thing, just because I feel bad you've been waiting so long, and I love the Virgil meme every time I see it. Majin Zero, if you're still there, feel free to unmute yourself. I'm dying to know what you think of SMT5.
Oh, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually playing the game right now, because I got nothing better to do today. But I think
it's a Tuesday afternoon. What else would you be doing besides a podcast and playing a game about that podcast?
True, but no, man, I really enjoy it. I think it's probably one of the better mainline games, at least in my opinion.
Well, there's only like it's been like almost a decade since the last one, so there's not a lot really to compare it to.
What are you talking about? Are you talking about in aspects of 4?
I'm coming off of it of like because I don't like when 5 came out. I think of like when it came to comparing it, I was like I think of relatively because comparing it to 1 and 2 is not really that fair. I think of it as in like 4, Apocalypse, and Nocturne. I'm comparing it to those. I'm not playing SMT5 thinking about what's this like compared to Strange Journey or Persona.
Well, I like to judge video games in the time frame that they came out. Like I don't think of Persona 1 compared to Persona 5. I think of Persona 1 compared to like I don't know, Final Fantasy 7. Or you know what I mean? Or like comparing it to games at the time. I don't really compare it compared to the new games. Mm-hmm. I go, okay. So at the time when this came out, how much merit did this game have? So that's kind of how I look at it personally. Like I still think SMT1 is a fantastic game, especially for the Super Nintendo. But, that's just me.
See, if I was going off of things like that, I would just always think there's no better RPG of the early 90s. I mean, like 90... Pre-97 probably. I'd be like, well, it's Chrono Trigger and then everything else.
See, I have Chrono Trigger for the PS1. I just have not sat down and played it. I haven't really had a lot of time.
It's one of those games that what's funny about it is, like, people often talk about Chrono Trigger, but one of the things people don't mention is Chrono Trigger is actually not that long. It has multiple endings, but, like, if you just wanted to get one ending, you could probably beat Chrono Trigger in, like, less than 20 hours.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of RPGs that I want to sit down and play, but like as soon as SMT5 came out, I was just like, okay, I will beat this, and then once I do at least one of the endings, I will go play something else. So,
so for you with SMT5, how far have you gotten into it hours wise?
I think I'm like 20-30 hours in, but I'm just at Ginza where the demons and angels started fighting each other, so that's where I'm about. I haven't met Rido guy. What's his name? Because I know you got to be
Yak-
like level
Yakumo.
40. Yeah, thank you. I forget their names. The only ones I ever really remember is Abdiel, the angel lady, and Nua.
I will
Those are
I
the only
will warn
characters
you
I
at least
remember.
with that area you're in. You will get to a moment halfway through exploring that area where he will be a forced boss fight and just
Mhm.
bring a lot of demons. And if you don't have a very high dark level demons, he's probably gonna spank you because he's really hard.
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually been pretty comfortable with the boss fights. Like I know the recommended level for Lamu was 38, but I beat him level 35, so I don't know. I've been
It's
feeling pretty
funny
good.
of like the game with the bosses for me, it was very much like there would be boss fights where I was like, oh my god, I got spanked. Like I remember fighting Lamu for real at the end. I fought Lamu. I think I was level 35 as well, like around there, maybe like 30 something. But I literally got one shotted.
Mhm.
I got insta mutoed first try. I didn't do anything different to my build, and then I beat him I think I got one shotted twice, and then I beat him third try. Just because with RNG of like, because for whatever reason I got insta killed with the with Muto on there, and I was the first one up, and it was one of those things of I didn't change my team. It was literally just my skill and dumb luck. If I was smart, I should have had like resist to dark, but it was one of those things of like the game to me, the bosses never felt like this is impossible. I have to grind. It more was just like a okay, change up my strategy, change up my strategy.
Well, that's kind of how I approach it. Like no, like other than because I've heard. Do you fight Nua twice, or is that a thing that I just didn't interpret correctly? Because from my
That
understanding is you fight her once in the diet building, then you fight her later.
that is got multiple answers and is a spoiler. So take that how you will.
Okay, so the only fight that has really given me a curveball was I'm just gonna say the first Nua fight because every other fight after that, because how I play SMT is I rush in and then I see what the boss does and then I just readjust everything accordingly. So that's how I play personally. But
I will say,
um,
I thought the Nua thing especially is interesting in that when you first fight Nua, without kind of giving it away, when you first fight Nua, I thought was really, really funny because I was like, oh, this is a character I'll be introduced to, but I'm not going to have to fight her. And then that fight to
yeah.
me is really interesting because it does that thing of like, it's not a forced you're going to lose fight, but it's way out of your power level unless you're really already going in expecting it. So for me, going into that boss fight, I remember barely scraping by, and I got to the point where the fight triggers the ending for it, and just being like, I had to like ask all of my friends who were playing it. I was like, is this like a you win no matter what happens? Because I felt like I barely made it out of that fight. It was just so much harder than I thought it was, which was nice. But like it's funny because the game never does like Atlas games normally aren't used to doing that. Hey, here's a boss you can't beat.
hmm Yeah, I feel like this is the first game where that's ever been the case because comfortably in 4 and in P5, uh, Nocturne, yeah, Nocturne kind of. It felt like even if you were a lower level or even if you were trying to intentionally make the game harder, you could beat them. So where in 5 it doesn't really feel like that's the case because of how, I don't know, spongy the enemies feel. I don't know. It's weird. It's different is I guess the thing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's just weird. But no, I really enjoy it. I think I don't know if it's just me, but I think it's just the new I think this game looks better than P5, which is funny because I see a lot of people say it's a PS2 game for whatever reason.
No,
Even even look, Nocturne is a PS2 game and that game looks fucking amazing. So,
that game looks
I don't know.
amazing with an asterisk mark next to it. That game has moments it looks great, and then there are also moments where Nocturne looks really, really old.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't say Nocturne looks like I don't know, Devil May Cry 3. That's the only thing I'm really because Devil May Cry 3 is a good game, but it doesn't look amazing, you know what I mean?
Is this a hot take? I would say Nocturne is not even in the top 20 best looking PS2 games. Like I think there are way better looking, even just RPGs. I think if RPG probably it's at least top 20, but I think in terms of RPGs, Nocturne visually doesn't stand out for me even in like a top 10 way.
Well, if you're talking about graphics wise, yes, but artistically, that's a hot take, I
I,
suppose.
I
But
guess because like it really screams to me like there was that era of early 2000s to 2003 where it was like, hey, we all want to look like Final Fantasy X, but we all cannot look
mhm.
like Final Fantasy X. Like Final Fantasy X, even with all of its constraints, that's like one of the few games that's like, hey, this thing fucks hard, and
Yeah,
not and not
it still kind of holds up. I see what you mean, but
so it's
you
like
know,
one of those things of like looking at something even like I think artistically something like a like Rida 1 and 2 is a good combination
mhm.
of like because I don't look at Persona 3 and 4 and think those hold up visually well, even though Persona 4 is a really late game, just because I think the base character models look just stupid on a TV just because they're so like they're not like
It's really apparent
chibified,
in
they're really
Golden where they kind
simplified
of.
though.
Yeah, they're not really. Yeah, I know what you mean, but it's the most apparent with Golden. I haven't played Portable, so I can't really speak upon that. But
See, Portable got rid of
Golden,
the
it
3D
definitely
models
shows
in the
it.
world, which made it look prettier, in my opinion, funnily enough.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know. In just terms of the last couple of Atlas releases, because I played the dancing games. I didn't really like it. I didn't like Q. I thought Catherine was all right, but I'd already played it, and I have not yet played Strikers, so I can't comment on that. But in terms of the last couple of Atlas releases, I think five is really good.
Mm-hmm. Haunted Breadstick, I do not mean to say that I'm always ragging on Nocturne. I love Nocturne's gameplay. I like its concept. Its characters are hella flat, and it leaves a lot to be desired. But for what it did, and for like what it does, especially at the time, it's a very good game. But
No, yeah,
it's not like one of those games I hold up. Like it's not because it's always so hard to compare to like other RPG. Like
games. Yeah.
For an Atlas game, Nocturne is really good. Now that was a really big push for them at the time. But as soon as you compare it to other JRPGs even released at the time, I think of other things where I'm like, I like
Well, I
a
mean,
little better.
I think the impressive thing about the SMT series, especially on the 3DS, is just how the games are really good despite being so low budget. Because you can't tell me that SMT 5 or Persona 5 has the same budget as Final Fantasy 15. You know what I
No,
mean?
yeah, I mean, like, I'm willing to say, without even knowing Five's budget, that even SMT5 had a lower budget than vanilla P5. Like, it was a big budget
Oh,
game, but it's
absolutely.
not even like I would say this probably had as big of a budget as Tokyo Mirage Sessions. But important to remember, TMS has a big budget mostly for its music and who they got to make the game, as opposed to its actual budget for the gameplay.
No, yeah. And plus Persona 5 just had a lot more of a bigger budget because the game was much longer and
I
SMT
will say this:
5,
if
you know,
five was longer, ooh, that's tough because I think its length is perfect for me because like I think it's very rare for a game to be over that 80-hour mark and consistently
mhm.
still good. Like Persona 5 really fucking dips in the middle. All the like well, it depends on which version you're playing, but like
Yeah,
if we're saying like
I personally
Royal,
don't.
there's a lot of hills and valleys. Whereas like SMT5, it was just a constant roller coaster for me of up.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, that has kind of made me lose a little bit of favor towards the game. Is I still think Persona 5 is a good game. Like me and my friends, we always talk about this. I always make fun of the fact that, like the generic SMT alias, like Persona's so fucking bad now. I don't think that. I think it's fine, but I don't think it's as good as everyone praises it. And I also don't think the pretty much once you meet Makoto, the game dips, in my opinion, and doesn't really go back up until you meet Shido. But that's just me. I don't know.
It
I think I don't
it's
know.
yeah it's tough because it's a multifaceted thing for sure, especially in my case with it of like I I I have so many different positives and negatives. Like I would never even say I don't think there's any part of Persona 5 that I hate. there's a lot of things that I wish were different. But yeah, Persona 5 is still a really, really great game. Like, at the end of the day, no matter what version you're playing, it's really, really, really good. And, like, there's a reason I enjoy its take. There's different things that I wish it would do for one way or the other, but, like, kind of even bringing it back to 5, it's like, I like how different they all are, because, like, at least for me, there was no moment of me playing 5 being like, oh, I wish it was doing this like this game. Of, like, I like how they all feel very different while still having that same similar core at its same aspect.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I don't, the big controversy of the IGN review is that's kind of why I don't really like that reviews because they're trying to do different things. They're not the same. And it's just I can respect what Persona does for the most part, and I'm glad, it brought me and a lot of other people into Mega 10, but in terms of calling it like a masterpiece, no, I wouldn't even say it's one of the better RPGs in the last couple of decades. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna wrap you up, but we did get a super chat by Carrie and Buckley, who was nice enough to give me, I'm pretty sure that's pounds, but it'll probably be euros, and then I'll be made fun of later. Donated £3 slash possibly euros, and said, "What is your game of the year contender?" So I'm gonna ask you as your outro: is SMT5 your GOTY, or if not, what is right now?
Okay, so there's I like SMT5. Don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic game, but it's not my game of the year, and here's the reason that is because of Near Replicant. When I played that game, it is one of the few games I've played in a very long time that has almost made me cry. Like literally, I've never played a game that made me feel so many different emotions. And SMT5 is good, don't get me wrong. In terms of actually like not remasters, SMT5 would be my game of the year. But if I gotta go, my personal opinion, Near Replicant all the way. So, yeah.
Do you think Nier got a bit of a snub due to it being a remake? Well, not really a remake, but a re-enhanced version.
I don't think that it got a snub. I think it being nominated just for music alone is good enough for me. I think SMT5 getting snubbed is way more like a piss because I don't know. The Game Awards is kind of confusing because they'll put Resident Evil 2 as the game of the year, but they won't put a remaster from a game from 2009. So it's like, I don't really care. I only go to the Game Awards just to see if they've got good announcements, and most of the times they don't, so whatever. It doesn't bother me either way. I enjoy what I enjoy. And
how mad do you think people are going to be when they hear me say I like the soundtrack in Guardians of the Galaxy more than Near Replicant? That's what I really need to know.
Depends. Have you heard? Well, the thing is, I was gonna say, have you heard the original? But outside of a few key differences, they're more or less the same. Obviously, Replicant's soundtrack is more higher quality. Well, not higher quality, but higher production value.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, here's the thing I really like about video game music. I haven't heard Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't even played that game yet.
It's $25. What are you waiting for?
That's the thing is I don't know. I'm really trying to pick and choose what I want to play because the next games that I'm playing or I'm buying and probably putting on the shelf until I finish Yakuza is Judgment and Lost Judgment.
Oh man,
So,
speaking of games that got snubbed this year, Coogan mentioned Lost Judgment Game of the Year for them. Lost Judgment I really like. I can't stress enough because I don't think it's so unpopular, at least like in terms of the overall Western perception of it. Like it did not even like register how unpopular it sold in the West.
would you say Yakuza is more popular than Judgment?
I just think it released at a weird time. I thought it was a good release month, but maybe just September was too busy. Like, people were still... Like, people would rather talk about Deathloop for its third week than the week it came out. Like, I thought it released at a good time, but, like, I heard more people talking about Death Stranding Director's Cut, which came out the exact same day. So
See, I didn't even know those two came out. That tells you how much of a rock I live under. So
well, like I mean, I'm sure it sold fine enough for it, but it is one of those things that like I think you look at something like SMT5, it had a big push of being a worldwide release game. Lost Judgment was the exact same thing for Sega, and no one seemed to care in the West, which really, really sucked because everyone I know who's played it has said it's great. I own it. I'm still working my way through the first one to get ready for it. I'll probably have to wait till next year to get around to that because I just beat Guardians last night. I'm doing Fatal
okay.
Frame today. Although Fatal
Oh
Frame's
shit!
not.
I forgot that came out. I actually do need to buy that. I never played. I played Fatal Frame 2 on PS2, and I haven't played any of the other ones. So
It's very very good and one of those like things I'm glad got removed from Wii U jail. But I will say like
yeah.
there's so many like little things of like I still really want to get to Far Cry, but like there's just a crazy backlog of stuff I still got. I also still got to beat like Returnal and Deathloop as well. So like this year's been like crazy for playing stuff for, but I know Lost Judgment was good. I know I'm gonna enjoy it when I finally get to it, especially with how much I've liked the first Judgment. But the thing I do want to say though, because I'm almost tempted to want to. I don't know if I would do a full video about it, but I really want to like express my thoughts on this longer. Of like, weirdly enough, if you like conversation games where you pick dialogue choices and it really makes a noticeable difference in how you play,
Mm-hmm.
which Atlas makes you want to think their games do, but SMT5 definitely your dialogue choices never matter until like the 95% point in the game. Amazing.
So is it like a Mass Effect thing where it only matters at the very end?
Yes, yeah. It's like there's
Okay. Yeah.
table dressings of like they make you think it matters, but it never really changes the experience until what ending do you
I
want?
mean it's better than it was in 4 and Apocalypse, where 4 you could try to do whatever route you wanted, and then you can go the opposite direction at the very end, or Apocalypse, which just all right, you want the good ending or you want the bad ending. So
I at least
that's better than nothing.
yeah, it's disappointing that they execute it poorly, but they at least never lock anything behind a wall. Like, so in Nocturne and 4, like you mentioned, if you do something, you're locked out of other endings, even though it doesn't feel like you've really progressed there naturally. Whereas at least with this one, it's like, hey, if you want to get any ending, just get whatever ending you want. Just make sure you pick this and do this. But
Would you really call that a quality of life, or would you call that a flaw? Because I don't want to be taking too much of your time, but
I would actually say that's a quality that's them admitting that they've just given up on dialogue choices mattering. Like literally, Nahabino talks like you say maybe 5 or 6 things as them where you're picking, and they never matter. Even in situations like there's specifically like I think in the second major boss fight, there's like should you fight the monster or save the girl? Literally, both don't matter. They're both the same thing. So like,
yeah.
is it artistically a flaw? Yes. Is it them coming to a realization that like, hey, we have to include this because other games do it? But like, it would be exponentially more expensive if they actually made the dialogue and conversations and boss things like matter. Like so, like that's a bummer. Like, as an example,
Yeah,
with
we'd
that
probably
boss.
be waiting 2 more years. We'd probably be waiting more longer than we've been waiting. So
Well, because like let's just use that boss fight as an example. Save the girl or fight the monster. Let's say if you save the girl, the boss is going to have full health. If you fight the monster, maybe you then get a fourth of its health taken off. But that girl's just straight up dead. You can't. There's no closure for her at all. So like having little things like that would be nice. So the thing I was gonna say though, I cannot believe how good the dialogue choices are for Guardians, and that it actually feels and does matter and is different in fun little ways. Like, even with little stupid bullshit things, like where you think it wouldn't matter, like a character on a random mission just goes, I'm gonna take down the bad guy, you guys stay here. If you just keep fighting, it just seems like nothing's any different, but if you follow her, you get in her way, and you exponentially change and make the final boss harder, and you would never have known that because that happened 10 hours ago.
okay, that's kind of cool. I don't know. I've kind of fallen out of the Marvel loop after Endgame. So, hopefully the new Spider-Man movie might catch me back in, but I doubt it.
I will say, if you do not care about MCU, this has no ties to any of the other games, any other. It has little similarities to the movies, but even like if you've seen Guardians 1 and 2, none of these characters copy any of those stories over, and they do a really good job of it's like you could give this to anybody. And I think one of the big things is, at least if you've played it, my biggest thing I always tell people is this game is so good. I legitimately think it is up there with Insomniac's Spider-Man games. Like, it's that level of good.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't like the MCU. It's just I've literally been watching these movies since I was like 8 years old, and I'm kind of tired of it. Like I saw the end of what I consider the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
See,
So
there must just be
I'm
something wrong in my brain, because everything MCU I've digested, it's just been like, oh, Eternals, I like that. Oh, Loki, I like that. Even Hawkeye, I was like, man, I really like that Hawkeye show.
Well, they're really easy to understand. Well, I wouldn't say really easy to. Well, they are, but you know what I mean. They're very easy movies to enjoy.
I
Like I
understand.
don't
I
know.
understand what you say. I'm an idiot, and I eat the junk food in front of me, and I'm
No, no,
happy.
no, no. I'm not calling you an idiot. But what I am saying is they're very like when Joker came out, a lot of people either loved it or they really hated it. It's not like that. It's more of a everyone can enjoy type movie. It's basically what Fast and Furious is for some movies, for some people, where it's just
Yeah,
like go in
yeah.
and enjoy.
I get that in some things, but I will say at least Phase 4 is actually probably the most divisive I've seen Marvel since like Phase 1 and 2. Where like
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I
whereas like
agree.
Eternals, I like it. The more my wife gets away from it, she's like, I hated that movie. And I was like, that's so interesting. And then like looking at other things like Falcon and Winter Soldier are very different. WandaVision, very different. Like they're doing some weird things
Mhm.
with it. And the ones that are I would say are safe are still different enough. Like Shang-Chi, very different than what you would normally get from a Marvel, even though it'd be very reductive, but there are points to say that like, hey, Shang-Chi is basically an Asian Black Panther, which it does interesting things with
Yeah.
it, but it is kind of using that formula. But like I think with them doing the shows and doing other little things are interesting of like I do think you're right though. You do bring up a like I think Spider-Man is going to be a big let's see how many people this brings back to it, because I've been very impressed that I've been very impressed that there are so many people who after Endgame was done, they're just like, I'm taking a break for a while. But I think
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 is definitely going to be one of like that's going to get butts in seats. Like they know that's a
Yeah.
big deal. Like Black Widow wasn't putting butts in seats, even though I liked Black Widow, but Black Widow is very forgettable.
Yeah, and I think it's two things. It's one because it's Spider-Man, and obviously a lot of kids like Spider-Man, and it's just, it's Spider-Man, you know what I'm saying? And two, I think it's the proposition of seeing Tobey Maguire and what's his name?
Andrew
Andrew
Garfield, my
Garfield.
man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think people are really hoping that's happening. I'm thinking at least Tobey Maguire is gonna happen. I don't
Listen, we're
like I said,
getting
I'm
we're
not
getting Willem Dafoe. I don't need anything else. I'm already there for Willem
you're
Dafoe.
true, true. But
I'll only say this. Mirth
yeah.
Mouser brings up a great comparison that you can take this how you will, but this is so accurate.
Mhm.
The MCU is definitely the Panda Express of movies, and there's no explanation after that. You either know what you're getting and are really into that, or are like, I'd like something a little bit more, a little bit less safe.
Yeah, that's an apt comparison. I don't really like Panda Express. That's just me. But I think comic book movies need to go in a newer direction other than they're either for everybody or not for everybody. It's either it's always either it's safe and for everybody like an MCU movie, or it's dark and mysterious like a Joker or like a Deadpool.
I
So I think there needs to be some kind of new temple for a superhero movie.
I will at least say this, just to put a final MCU thing of like Spencer's really weird with what he does like.
Mhm.
Jackie can say I didn't expect this much MCU talk on my lunch for the podcast. I will say this: I'm definitely not like the norm for MCU people. Like for example,
Mhm.
I loved Venom 2. I know
Oh,
that's
I
not,
love that movie too. It's good. It's
that
great.
movie.
It's
That
amazing.
movie was a fucking fever dream of an
It, it
experience.
it's simultaneously amazing and not amazing at the last. It's weird. Um, but I was just talking to my other friend about this. Like, I love horror movies, and he does not because he's a baby. But a lot of people can just enjoy an MCU movie, where I think a lot of people wouldn't enjoy a horror movie. So, I think just MCU is fine if you just want to watch action. So,
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on here for A, SMT5 talk, and B, MCU talk, which apparently I can just do my own thing for it. Believe it or not, back in the forgotten times, I did, at one point on this channel, post a review for... Oh my god, why am I forgetting its name? The MCU... Not the MCU. The last Fox X-Men movie. Oh my god, why am I forgetting
oh,
it? New
X-Men
Mutants.
Apocalypse.
No,
wasn't
New
it?
Mutants.
Oh, New Mutants.
I posted
Yeah,
a review for New Mutants because I just remember it was so weird because it was the first movie I went back to the theaters to see, and I was like, I gotta make a video about this. I'm like, this was such a weird thing. I was like, I gotta talk about it.
okay,
Even
did
though
you
that
like
movie
it or
is
did you not like it? 'Cause I didn't personally like
that
it.
movie. I didn't hate it, but it was one of those weird. It was like I'm gonna immediately forget after I saw that movie.
Okay. Well, I've taken up a bunch of your time, and I appreciate it and all, but I'm gonna go back to playing SMT5 so I can be done before the year's over.
No
So
worries, man.
anyway,
Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you having me on here. And
Yeah.
if you'd like to find me, I have a YouTube, Majin Zero. Me and my friends, we make all sorts of we play like Guilty Gear and whatever, and we clip some of the funny parts. Play Bayonetta 3 when it comes out, or I will be upset. I will find you. Play it when it comes out.
We won't. We will not need any help simping that game. That's a mandatory simp game.
Yeah. But anyway, shout outs to Cross Renren. I know Danganronpa comes out, I think, in like a week or something. But anyway, alrighty.
Danganronpa. I've got a lot of things I could say about Danganronpa S. But I will.
Trust me.
I will hold my tongue.
If I had another hour, we'd just be sitting here talking about Danganronpa because I've played all those games on PS4, and I have no interest to get it on Switch. But that new game is isn't it like a gotcha mobile game type thing?
That's its own conversation. That game is its own podcast of upsetting me for various different reasons.
All right. Well, I'm not going to take too much of your time. Anyway, have a great rest of your night, and take care.
All right, everybody. While we are waiting, I'm going to do another reminder to everybody out there listening live. It's the pinned thing on YouTube. If you are not in the Discord and you want to join and talk about SMT5, now is your chance. Just join the Townhall, and I will call you up onto the stage. I'll also do this here on the Discord chat. Alright, so, while I'm waiting for anyone else to jump into the Town Hall chat, let's go to the Patreon. So, next up we got a submission from Solaire. Solaire says, I already stated most of my impressions in your recent community post, so this is more of an addendum. After 20 more hours, I'm in the 4th area and have spent around 10 hours of my playtime just in the World of Shadows because of Fusion. Because of the fusion mechanics and Megaton active, some compulsive meticulousness in me, I also get lost in the environments in a good but also slightly frustrating way. Still, this is my personal game of the year. I have a lot of thoughts about the character and story writing, not just for this game, but SMT in general, but I'd like to finish the game and let it sink in for a while to really do it justice. I appreciate that. The way a majority perceived the narrative as lacking kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I have a hypothesis that I'll work on after. I'm not sure if it'll go public. This town hall is actually my birthday, but I won't be live for it. Solaire, I didn't even realize that when you put it there, but happy freaking birthday, Solaire. I hope you are enjoying it, and hopefully we can enjoy your TED Talk thesis someday. Alright, let me see if I'm missing anything. Mirth, I like how you're like, I've not played enough SMT5. This is not a spoiler chat. If you want to come in here, Mirth, and tell me about your 3 hours. I am dying to hear all about your 3 hours. Also, if anyone on the YouTube chat has a question for me, just ask me a question as well. So it's a pretty chill stream today, if you couldn't tell. Kyrian says, who was your favorite boss in SMT5? That's a really good question, because this game has some awesome boss fights. Honestly, it's tough, because I think I have two different choices of favorite to fight and favorite... Oh no, and it's a spoiler, too. Okay, I'll say like 3 that are like my favorites, but I can't actually say their name for 2 of them. The very, very, very last boss on pretty much every run you do is my favorite. But if you don't do it with the 4th ending, you're missing out in certain phases, and they have really interesting secret phases. A certain mustachio boss at the end of the game, I really, really loved. I really, really thought that was a fun boss fight. And... well, I don't know what the heck happened to me there. And I really liked the super boss, without saying who that is, but at least I can say it was the super boss. The super boss was a nice kind of challenge of, like, it didn't feel easy on any of the difficulties, and, well, except safety. But even on casual and normal and hard, I thought the super boss was a really interesting kind of mix of testing your ability and did that thing that rarely you see in RPGs, where it actually had... the boss actually had lore of why they are there, why you are fighting them, and why they weren't part of the main story up until that point. I thought was really, really interesting. And they do even appear in one of the endings, so it is possible you meet the super boss at the end of the game without ever actually meeting them. Let's see what other questions we have. Oh yeah, Zeus is great. Zeus is an awesome fight. Zeus, Odin, all the members of Bethel were super, super fun to fight. Best areas music. I would probably say... probably the 4th major area had one of my favorite tracks. I really like the Demon King's castle in terms of a boss dungeon. That had a really good theme for it, but there's no bad music in this game at all, thankfully. So they've killed it there. So while Jag is munching on chips, I'm going to do my favorite thing and talk about Jag while Jag listens. So Jag says, SMT5 is a game that I got way more into than I expected. The world was fun to explore, the gameplay is rather engaging, and the soundtrack has such a different feel that I really love. While I haven't played too many past SMT titles as of yet, this game makes me highly motivated to jump on them nearing the end of this game now and interested to see how it all ends. But so far I can definitely understand the criticisms of the story, definitely isn't the game's biggest strength, but overall I'm finding at least something somewhat interesting so far that the game is a GOTY contender for me, and I hope that many others enjoy this, and Atlas puts way more work into the overall SMT series. I could not agree more. Yeah, it's very interesting of, like, I think if you just are taking, like, one aspect of, like, maybe dungeons, no puzzles, or some aspects of the story... Because, like, I think saying the story is overall bad just because of how it ends isn't necessarily fair. Like, I think they do such a great job talking about the story from, like, how do they set up the world, how do they explain the world, how do they make the lore really make sense. I think they do a really interesting job with that, like, I at least don't really think it's fair to say, oh, this is bad. Like, this is bad because it ended badly. Like, I think there are so many strengths, at least, to this story and the way that they wrote, even just, like, the dialogue alone, that, like, for me, I don't think it's fair to say it's a bad story. I can say it's uneven, for sure. But, yeah, that's kind of it there. Let's see. Demicruz says, what do you think Atlas's next big project is? Is it Project Pen? No, it is not Project Pen for their next big one. The next release... Oh, the next release is definitely not going to be their biggest one. Their next release is going to be Persona 3 and 4. But, I could see them releasing something before ReFantasy. Like, I don't have enough... I've not even checked in, really, but Project ReFantasy is still in such a weird, ethereal phase right now that, like, I could believe it comes out in 12 months, and I could believe it doesn't come out until 2 years from now. So, I almost wouldn't be surprised if we get, like, another spin-off game in terms of a new major game before then. I'm almost even in the camp of, like, I would believe that 5 gets ported to PC before ReFantasy comes out. But who knows? Everything's up in the air. God knows Atlas could have a lot going on, but at the same time, I think they've been so weirdly reserved in a lot of ways that I also wouldn't be surprised. Let us see what we have next. So I've got one more from the Patreon. This is from Octavian. Octavian says, what do you think about the fact that Yami left development in 2018 and the Etrian Odyssey staff took over to finish the game? For me, the game lacks coherence, a vision, and creativity. It has way too many Nocturne references, half-baked and underwritten characters, plot points are never explained or straight up pointless, like with a character you never see in trailers, and so on. Compared to Persona 5, where Katsura Hashino produced, directed, and wrote the basic plot of the game, how everything fits together, it's explained, and is coherent. On a technical and gameplay level, the game is full of talent, but I think RNT1 production lacks a true visionary like Koji Okada, Katsura Hashino, or Kazuma Kaneko, and one idea can make sure and that one can make sure the ideas fall to the end. So I really liked and appreciated that, Octavian. So, there have been a lot of talks about the production of 5, and, like, some people have kind of talked about, like, oh, it's unfinished, or there was a lot of characters coming in, not finishing things, and there's not been any confirmation or proof. Like, there was no public fallout. Like, yes, we know that this person left, but there's not anything really showing that, like, this affected the game negatively. And yeah, I can definitely understand the unevenness of a lot of aspects, but from everything we saw leading up to this game, there didn't feel like a cutting room floor. Like, there's no Metal Gear Solid 5 moment of, like, oh my god, where'd the ending of this game go? I think there are different aspects that definitely could have been expanded upon to help out a lot more with different characters. Again, having choice actually matter in the story. And a big point as well is, I think the way the Bethel aspect is handled is interesting, but if you told me an entire act was cut, that was you learning way more about them, I would have 1,000% believed you. But it's also one of those things of, like, that's also, like, kind of, you're just playing the what-if game of, like, you're being very, like, hyperbolic of, like, well, yeah, this could have been cut, but we don't really know. I don't know if they'll ever be that candid about it. I at least to me, at the end of the day, and through everything I've heard from development, is that this game was just very technically hard for them to make, and not that they had a lot of, like, is that they didn't have a vision. The vision has always been set for this game, but, like, unless something comes out that, like, contradicts it, I think that this is more of a situation of they probably wanted to do more, but it would have made a more expensive game, whereas they wanted to make the best game they could from a feeling aspect, and probably aspects of the story suffered because of how they wanted the game to feel as a overall experience. So it's something they could definitely fix. Like, I could see them doing a director's cut of 5 or an expanded version of 5, or even if they wanted to, just pick another character like an Apocalypse and kind of expand upon that world and give different angles and kind of a what-if scenario and add more to the background of everything. But for me, I definitely get it for like those complaints. Like, you bring up a really good point, but at the very least, I always kind of want to say, I don't want to put a lot of, like, eggs in that basket of it was a messy development until we actually have proof of that. Because, like, one person leaving, even if they are the director 3 years before release, doesn't really say a lot, because guess what? When he left, that game was still barely in the idea stage. Like, the game really hadn't had that much development at its time of announcement in 2017, and by the time we finally, like, saw concrete, like, really, the game didn't become what we knew it was until 2019, early 2020. Like, they were really, like, getting the game, like, getting the idea of what SMT5 was for many, many years. It's not like it's not like they were starting this game at time. Like, when this game was announced, that trailer with Odin showing the demons, showing the protagonist and Tao getting murdered in the opening, like it's a concept trailer. There was no story, which then you could then say maybe they should have had a story at the time of announcement, and then maybe that led to it feeling a little more rushed. I would understand that, but I think saying one individual leaving and another team having to help out, I view that more as Atlas as a really small team, and they needed as much help as possible, and a bunch of guys who were making a 3DS game before. Like, would you rather have Etrian Odyssey 6 or SMT5 come out 2 years sooner? I think the clear answer is bring the Etrian Odyssey team over and help them finish SMT5, and now guess what? The team who made Etrian Odyssey now has experience with a giant RPG on new hardware with a new engine. So it's a win-win, at least for me, in terms of what the future can hold, and didn't really feel underwhelming. I'm glad I ranted long enough that we've got the legend themselves, Mirth, is here, ready to regale us, and all 34 plus of us live, with your 3-hour impressions. Mirth, if you want to do the honors, no pressure. You're the last one on the podcast. What the heck did you think of SMT5 so far?
Pretty.
I think you muted too late, and all I heard was Eddie.
I said it's very pretty.
That is true. I will not listen to any malarkey if people say that this is an ugly game. It is... The longer I look at it, it's so pretty. So you mentioned you're about 3 hours in. So I'm gonna think of all the best opening impression questions. You mentioned it's very pretty. Are you playing handheld or TV?
The TV, because I did try playing handheld after I started on the TV, and that was a mistake because I'm already used to I'm already used to the more detail on the TV. Now I can't go back. I ruined it for myself.
You were going from Chardonnay to the lowest of the lowest class, but it's one of those things that if you never saw it on a TV, it's more than serviceable on portable, but you can't go back. Once you've seen it at its best, you can't get back to it.
Yeah, which is funny because I actually usually play most of my Switch games on handheld. The only other exception I can think of is another game that came out this year, Monster Hunter Rise. I cannot play that on handheld. It doesn't look right on the handheld. I'm too spoiled by how it looks like on TV.
You played too much Monster Hunter World, clearly.
I got about 10 hours into that game. I really loved it. Then I got distracted by my other PS4 games, and then Rise came out, and I haven't gotten back to World.
Now here's a real question. How do you feel about the opening of 5? Because I was very impressed that I think 5 is great pacing. Like, I was so surprised how quickly you became the Nahabino in the opening.
Is my first real mainline SMT game. The only, unless you count the Persona series, the only other Megaten experience I have is the first few hours of the first Devil Survivor. It's funny that people say that they're surprised how fast it gets into it. I'm not saying it's slow. I'm saying it's a really good pace, because I was almost worried, like, oh, are we going to get into it like 20 minutes in? Or are we not going to have time to let the setting and atmosphere set in? Is it going to go too fast? Not at all. I think the pacing was perfect.
So, I'm trying to think of where you're at with it.
I haven't even reached Tokyo Tower. I've been way too distracted. I've been way too distracted trying to get every demon in the area. Trying to figure out all my fusion combinations.
I hope you're not ignoring those Memon. You gotta make sure those Memon get collected.
Yeah, that's another thing that's distracting me. I think I'm leaving some behind. It's like, no, I have to explore this area completely, even though it'll take me 6 hours, and I'm going to be putting off the story. And yeah, I haven't made a lot of progress because I keep trying to collect everything. It's a compulsive need.
That was exactly how I played the game. So like then when I heard earlier of you don't have to, it was like, oh yeah, I beat it in 30. I'm like, I think I was out of the first area after 15 hours.
It's like, I'm probably be closer to 20 for me because I play games very slowly compared to most people with RPGs, like extremely slowly.
Well,
And
you
I'm
know,
already
and also
trying to think
the other
ahead.
thing with it is like there's no outside of again possibly avoiding spoilers. There's no benefit to hurrying. Like it's just one of those things of just like for me, I love taking my time with it. That's why I was so glad that I got the game ahead of time so quickly because like I would have really felt like I missed out if I like had to skip anything. You know.
I know what you mean. The Ironically, playing this game probably because of the desert, it reminds me a lot of Near Armada, where where I'm constantly running through the desert. You see the sand flying. I keep wanting to double jump, but this game has no double jump. Which was my first impression when I heard that there was platforming in this game. Like, oh, is there going to be a double jump? There isn't. I'm still getting used to it.
That would be kind of amazing if that was one of the miracles you could unlock. Like if you got all 200 Mii-Men, they were like, "Congratulations, you've done everything. You've unlocked the double jump for no reason."
It would make platforming a little easier. I'm still getting used to the platforming. It's very cool though. Very slick.
What if someone mods in? Because I know we've got to get all of our dumb horny mods out of the way first. But like, I wonder if someone's going to mod in double jumping and air dashing.
Or dashing. Ooh. I mean, they'd also have to animate that, and that means animating Nahabino's hair, and good luck with that. That's a passion project.
That's true. I wonder if like if we can get like the really dumb ones of like what if someone makes like the unholiest of mods and they just get and it's Nahabino with a buzz cut. So totally bald Nahabino.
No. I've already seen an edit giving him short hair, and that was just a poster, and I was like, no, I hate it. It's not the same without the long flowing locks, which is probably my favorite part of the game, honestly. I just love running around and seeing the hair move. It's basically like dangling keys in front of a 3-year-old. I can't stop looking at it. I can't look away. It's too beautiful.
Now, again, very unfair question, but I have to do it anyways.
Yes.
Has anyone stood out to you? Do you have a best boy, best girl, anyone in the cast catching your eye or ear?
Honestly, I don't think anyone's going to top Nahabino. That design is perfect. It doesn't happen too often, but every once in a while, you look at the design, even if you have no context for the show or game it came from, and you think, yes, I need to see that just for that.
Think about it like this:
and that's Nahabino.
What other game has Nintendo tweeting a picture of your character saying hair, and that's it? That's all you have to say about the character. Just say, "Look."
I need
at
it. I
that hair.
retweeted it.
Like it's a power statement of character design, and why I will never allow anyone who says they don't like it to not explain themselves, because that's like that's like one of the things of like
that at all.
Here's how you pass the vibe check. Do you like Nahabino's character design? Good job. You're a good person.
I don't understand people who think the designer is silly. Like, it's perfect. I can't even explain how it's perfect. It just is.
I cannot wait till we get art books, because you know that they probably had so many beta designs for them.
Oh, no.
Of, like, here's him with, like, ponytail. Here's him with, like, the half fade. Here's him with, like, the pompadour.
Oh, no. Oh, no. That'd be a completely different experience.
Oh, my God. The customizable,
ponytail probably would have been easier
hair
to animate.
would be amazing, but would also be a disaster.
One thing I also saw that was a very strange criticism on Twitter. I spent too much time on Twitter. Was I forget who said it, but it's like somebody just wasn't into the kind of power fantasy idea that the main character fused with a godlike being to get these abilities. And that they preferred, them just being a normal person with a comp. And I ironically feel the opposite.
A normal demon summoning kid.
Ironically, feel the opposite. I think it's a lot cooler to have a main character that fuses with this unknown being rather than just a person with a DS that summons demons. I'm sorry, I know people like the DS comps, but I think they are very silly.
So you'll discover this later. It's not really a spoiler because like you've talked to Atsuda and he's mentioned he can summon demons with his phone. Although funnily they never actually show him doing it.
It would look too silly if they did.
I will say this. You will find that there is a character in the story of SMT5 who is literally just, I am a normal, not special human summoning demons on my phone, and even the game is like, hey, he's not very good at this. Like, he's probably gonna die. Like, it's just not believable.
And work. Well, I mean, I assume it's basically yeah, how does it work? I can't visualize summoning demons on a phone.
The way they've made it appear is basically it's literally an app, and then you summon them with no... Like, there's no... Anyone can do it. You don't have to be, like, a special chosen person or whatever. It's basically, do you have a phone? I assume you need at least 3.4 gigs for this app. It's got to be a pretty big app. And then you can summon angels or demons or whoever you want. My question is in this, are they stored on the phone? Is it an extra download to have like, are there larger... Do higher level demons take up more space? Is it a cloud-based
Save
summoning
on the
program?
cloud.
Yeah. Like, what's going on?
I'm going to assume it's cloud saves. In that case, you better hope you have a good connection.
What's
otherwise
the
you're
PlayStation
screwed.
Now demon comp program? That's what I need to know. Also, Sousa in the chat brings up a great point. DS comps are perfect because they're not a phone. So at least... I love that it's like, no, my DS... only summons demons. It is a demon summoning program.
That's what's so silly about it. Like, how does the fights in Devil Survivor works? Are they like taking out a stylus and looking at their DS
100%, 100%. They're having to like write out these incredibly complex summoning programs with the DS stylus only.
And they're looking at the DS while this huge battle is going on right in front of them, and they can't even look at it.
They're living their best lives. That's what they're doing.
When I pictured that, I was just like, that's so silly. How can I take this game seriously? That's all I can think about when they're going into battles. It's just like, they can't focus on the demon trying to bite their arms off. No, they gotta look at their DS and draw triangles and circles.
It weirdly works for me. I've never had actually a disconnecting... I've never had like a narrative disconnect, funnily enough, with Devil Survivor 1 or 2 for whatever reason. I will say... This is how you know, like, people can be petty sometimes. I did have a moment with Devil Survivor then was on 3DS that they didn't change it. So that the comps were a 3DS. They kept them looking like a normal DS, and I always thought that was really stupid. They should have made it look like, have the little nub still for the analog slider.
I guess that would involve changing the art.
No, yeah.
I mean, they don't call them DSs anyway, so...
That is true. Well... Mirth, I'm glad you came on here to complain about comp design with me. Are you enjoying?
I'm sorry,
I know
everyone
5?
loves them. Yes, I'm very much enjoying 5. I'm too addicted to trying to catch all the demons in the area and never having enough Maka to do any of my fusions. I don't know how to get enough Maka. I'm running out too fast.
Here's a tip the game doesn't actually tell you. When you're collecting the artifacts through those vending machines, you have to manually sell them. So when you go to Gustav's, if you've been collecting a bunch of them, even though all they're meant to do is to sell, there's a couple that are for side quests, but the game will normally tell you.
Assumed they were health items.
No,
I haven't used them.
They're all just junk for you to sell to Gustav. So
well,
when
that's
you go
way
to
more
Gustav,
useful.
if you go to sell, you're going to be like, there's a sell all button, and it'll give you tons of cash. Because I remember playing the first 5 hours, and I was like, man, I'm really tight on cash. And then I realized I hadn't been selling any of that junk, and it was a ton of cash.
Question. Do I need any of those for side quests? Because that happens to me all the time in Golden, where I have the item I need, I sell it on accident, and then I have to get it again. Like, I don't want to go through that again.
I remember. One is in the first area. You'll discover probably in another hour or 2, there's a group of demons that if you have items they're looking for, they'll give you a item because they're impressed about it, but it's not a side quest, so that's not mandatory at all. It's not even an optional quest. The other one is in the third area, there is a specific quest with, like, collecting diamonds. So, but as long as you know that you're not supposed to sell diamonds and emeralds and stuff, which, like, that'll happen later on, and it'll very specifically tell you, you will find these in these areas. I'd say just don't worry about it, and just sell everything.
That's good to know. But yeah, I should probably make my way onto Tokyo Tower.
Let's pretend SMT5 has been Men in Black wiped from your brains. What the heck is your game of the year if we can't count SMT5?
Played a lot of games this year because I haven't had too much spare change to buy any. The only new games I've played this year are Monster Hunter Rise, SMT5 now, and Strikers.
What an odd trilogy of games. But they're all connected to the Switch at least.
Which one would I pick? I mean, I've put the most hours into Rise. I really loved Strikers, but I don't want to make a call because I've barely started SMT5. But SMT5 also has Naobino, and that's Best Game of the Year award for that alone.
So clearly SMT5 wins the Best 3 Hours award.
Yes.
Alright, well, believe it or not, you're actually not going to be our last person. So if you want, you can tell people where they can find you if you want to be found or not. Otherwise, we're gonna yell at Cross Ren for Danganronpa, I'm sure.
I don't have too much to plug, but if anyone's that curious, it's just Mirth Mauser on Twitter. I occasionally tweet art it's usually just art.
You know, you mentioned being on Twitter too much, and I forgot to ask you, if I've ever asked you this before, please forgive me. How did you find us again? Because I remember specifically mostly interacting with you in early 2020. But how did you find out about SMTN or the podcast?
It was specifically that post where you said Strikers is getting announced later this month, and I was like, I need to know the second this game comes out, and I needed updates, so I followed you from there.
I'm so sad. Like I've actually been working on something about. I've been trying to finish this feature, but it's really hard to get anyone to talk about on the record. Now that the game's been out for a while, I really want to get an in-depth episode or video where I get an answer about why this took so long to get announced. Because there's got to be a story there, you know? There's got to be a reason.
Was it going to be there at New Games Plus Expo? Because I don't know now.
I know at least 3 times where it was supposed to have been announced, and then it either got delayed or pushed back. I almost got to ask Jeff Keighley what the original plan was, because remember, it was supposed to be announced at the Game Awards, but then it got leaked.
Why did they pull it out? The music video was there.
The music video was there because it got leaked.
Oh.
So they pushed it out of the show just to have Lynn perform.
I thought they had both, but then they took the announcement out, and then the music video was just there awkwardly still.
Nope, it was it was going to have both, but yeah, they wiped it because it's not an exclusive if it's already been leaked and everything for it. So it was a whole big dumb messy thing.
That sucks. I would have loved to see it. I wanted to see it announced live for months. That's all I wanted, and then it never happened.
Don't worry.
Oh, well.
The Game Awards is next week. It'll be there. They'll have the Xbox version announced there just for us.
It won't be there. They didn't nominate it for best score.
No, everybody forgot about Strikers at the Game Awards, sadly.
I know. It wouldn't win. It would never win. But the score is so good. I can't pick. But
I know I'm not.
It's one of my favorite
game
scores.
I'm not a fair person to say this. I would have at least nominated Tom Taylorson for best performance as Zenkichi.
He is phenomenal in that game. Phenomenal. I haven't heard him outside of Bunger from Bugsnax, and he killed it. He absolutely killed it.
Well, thank you for coming on and letting me waste more of your precious hours. Good luck beating the Tokyo Tower Demon. You'll need a lot of ice, and if you don't have Mermaid, I'm very disappointed.
Well, I haven't died yet, so let's not break that streak.
I'm expecting a tweet in 3 hours. It's like, I died. It happened.
I will tweet it when I die.
See ya.
I'll take a screenshot even. All right, bye.
All right, Cross Ren, for your introduction / finale to this podcast, I need you to tell me in one sentence, if you can, tell me why Danganronpa S is not a soulless cash grab and in the front of everything Danganronpa stands for.
Well, let's just be honest. People that like Danganronpa like characters, and it's a character. Well, I wouldn't say character-based game, but it may look like a crash grab, but you get cool, wacky scenes with your favorite characters, and like that's sold. If you like the characters, of course you want to see more of them because it's a killing game. And if your character dies, and you're like, "Dang, I want to see more. I want to see more of this character." Well, now you can. So
that was way more of an. I almost thought you worked for Spike Chunsoft. That's how much of an honest answer that was.
No, I'm just a passionate Danganronpa fan.
I will say this: when that game comes out for everybody,
Friday,
the fans will love it, and everyone, like, no one's gonna buy that trilogy for that game unless you're already a fan. Like that's the least interesting thing for a newcomer. But also at the same point, like, I just can't look at that and not think, man, this is. It's like looking at the Mr. Beast Squid Game thing. It's like, did you miss the point of what Danganronpa was commentary for? Because like, it's kind of like there's a reason Danganronpa ends at V3. Because if you make any more, you're just kind of saying you missed the point of your own game, talking about the world and corruption and stuff. Now, Crossrunner, this is not a Danganronpa show, unfortunately. Maybe one day we'll make the Dangan cast. But I gotta ask you, what the heck do you think of SMT5? I think Crossrunner may be stuck in the internet hell loop. Can you hear me? If your internet died as soon as we started talking about SMT5, that would be very funny. Otherwise, I might have to end the show.
Yeah.
Is your internet
hello?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, so I think being a teenage boy doesn't help the fact I'm calling you from school because I realized, oh, he's still going.
Yo,
I should join.
School Wi-Fi. Special shout out to how bad that is.
Oh, yeah. But what were you saying before you call off? I heard you say.
I was saying, did you have any thoughts or opinions you would like to say about SMT5, since we are trying to stay on topic?
Well, about Danganronpa or SMT5?
SMT5, unfortunately.
Oh, don't worry, there'll be plenty of talking about Danganronpa this Friday. But about SMT5, it's an interesting game, shall I say. Coming from a Persona fan, I have to preference that first before I talk about it.
What do you mean I have to preference it? Like you're a child molester. Be like, I'm legally forced to let you know I am a Persona fan, so here are my opinions. Man, that's cool Wi-Fi.
The modern Persona game. Yeah, oh, if it's bad, then I can do this later. It's just, basically, if I had to sum up my experience with SMT5, it's a traditional JRPG. I played Nocturne on Merciful, and didn't actually get the rough experience of an RPG. But with SMT5, it's like, wow, this game's kind of hard. Mm-hmm. I gotta actually do something, and like it's like it feels repetitive in some aspects. Like it's flexing demons on your way. Get the boss. Wait, you gotta go grind. And I've done that like 3 times. And I'm like, it's good. It's a good game. I don't know.
Well, Crossrunner,
that's really the SMT experience.
You have amazing quality sometimes in half of it. I think we understood what you were saying, but I would love to hear what you think of more of it. But I think we have to let you go because school Wi-Fi is trying to kill the show, and we're almost to the 2-hour mark. So, if you
understandable.
If you would like to any final words, or if you just want to pimp Danganronpa coming to Switch, the floor is yours for your goodbye.
All right, yeah. Go play Danganronpa. I'll have more. I gave you $5 in Seoul, so
Oh, by the way,
good.
Crossrunner, I gotta know. Very very important. Since you are here, how many hours are you into 5?
I think about 20 in. I know I made it past Ginza, and I know the last point I played. I'm at the Yakuza looking, not Yakuza, the Raido looking dude. That's the joke I have.
I was
And
just
I'm
imagining
like,
there's a moment in SMT5 where you have to go into a company building and you have to walk up 12 floors and that's the entire dungeon.
you know what? That would be fine with that. But that's where I last left off before I got addicted to AI the Somniophile. So, you know.
Fashionably late, but preparing yourself for the sequel. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I have a lot to say about that, but cast for it. So, you know.
All right, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your day at school, and try not to be the I don't know the winner or the loser of the killing game. I guess because I assume you're just in Danganronpa school land.
No, I'm a second year, so I'm Joker Persona 5. I'm literally
Oh
him.
God. Okay, now that's your goodbye. That's how we know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, man. Well, have a good one. All right, everybody. Well, we made it out of Discord. We made it through all the patrons. Thank you all for coming to this. I don't know how we almost did this for 2 hours. It was a pretty chilled back stream, but I appreciated everyone coming, talking, submitting text things, coming on live, anything else like that. But yeah, if you are watching this or listening to this after the fact, and if you want to let me know what you think of it, please in the comments below or on Twitter, Discord, the Facebook group, whatever you want to do. Let me know what you think of SMT5. Obviously, try and be spoiler safe if you can for everyone out there who might not have beaten the game and whatnot. But besides that, if you enjoy the show and would like to support it, like I said, we have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/SMTN. And if you would like to be an awesome fan, you can donate, get $1, donate $1 a month or more and become a fan, get the show early or perks most of the time. Or you can be a executive producer at the $5 and up tier, like Jagingus, Cross Renren, Dozy Bear, Jazzy Jeff, Kyle, Sierra, Lena Heifer, Patrick, Philip, trying to make sure I'm not missing anything, Shisho, Solaire, happy birthday once again, Solaire, and everyone else. The Patreon support has been really, really awesome recently. I think we almost have, we're almost at 40 members, which is really crazy. I'm trying to think of actually, like I don't know if I have like a Patreon goal thing for it, but I mean anything and everything helps, just with like the hosting fees and everything else and posting things, and always motivating me to try and make a better show for all of you guys. And the Patreon support and love really, really helps. I cannot thank you all enough. So if you are a current patron at any tier or have ever donated anything, thank you so much. If you are a current one, doubly thank you. And if you're just interested in becoming a patron and helping support the show, it really, really helps out. So thank you all to the patrons. If you want to interact with the show and enjoy more, like I said, Facebook group, Twitter at SMT Network, at Torchwood4SP is my personal, but God knows I'm really bad at using that. Subscribe to YouTube. The YouTube support has been really, really crazy recently, so you can find every episode of the show, all of my videos and stuff I post. My SMT5 DLC video of what to buy and what to skip has been crazy traction. It's now the most popular video I've put actual effort into. It finally beat the Persona on PlayStation 5 video, which I did not think was going to happen anytime soon. So that's really, really crazy. My SMT5 video review is now thankfully my highest viewed video review I have ever done. We beat Devil Survivor 2, we beat Samurai Warriors 5. So after putting in so much time and effort and literally going out and buying a capture card just for this video review, it was really, really, really satisfying that you guys enjoyed the review so much, and the reception has been so positive, even if you don't agree with it. Again, let me just say, I did not use the word masterpiece lightly. I really don't like using that unless I'm really certain about how special I think a game is, and I really genuinely believe SMT5 is something special for me. So if you want a really meaty, spoiler-free, 33-minute long review, that video is for you. Please check that out. But yeah, besides that, let me see. What are we forgetting? Oh yeah, the Discord as well. Check out the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, all that other fun stuff. But yeah, thank you all so much. Really appreciate doing these town halls. Always fun getting to talk with you. And And in terms of other shows, I have a couple of more interviews coming from SMT5. We are really close to the 250th episode. I'm trying to make something special for that happen. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. Enjoy the show. Let me know what you think. Enjoy the game, most importantly. And if you're not playing SMT5, let me know what you are excited for or coming out soon. Stuff like that. We have a lot of stuff and fun, I'm sure, coming up with December. Always like hearing from all of you. Either way, have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your night, whenever the heck you're listening to this, wherever the heck you are. So, thank you all a bunch, and have a good one. Goodbye!